So now that we've gotten into the nitty-gritty of how to physically play the game, let's take a step back, bird's eye view, on overall how to play the game modes of the game. So when you think of Magic, one of the things you might think of is a 60-card deck. That's going to be something like modern or historic. Those distinctions are just by cards that are in or out of the currently allowed sets. And this is something where you have 60 cards, you have a bunch of land in there, and you may have a maximum of 4 of each card type. So usually you'll have a set of 4 creatures and a set of 4 instants that are the same thing. And you start with 20 life. Another game mode is Commander. This is my favorite way to play. In Commander, you're going to have one, you guessed it, Commander. That's going to be any legendary creature, will qualify that, and you build the deck around it based on the abilities that it has that work well with it. So that might be the number of colors that it is, or the creature type, or a certain mechanic that you want to work around. So your whole deck is going to be based on being able to play that Commander. You're going to have 100 cards, you start with 40 life, and you can't have any of the same card in there more than once. Something else that's special about Commander is that when your commander dies, it goes back to what's called the command zone. It can't be exiled, really. It can't leave the game. It will always go back to the command zone. Every time it just gets a little more expensive to cast it. So usually that's going to be 2 extra colorless mana per time that it's coming out back on the battlefield. Another way to play is a draft. This is an event that you'll go to at a game store somewhere. You pay to get in usually, and you draft a deck there, and you'll get to keep the cards when you're done. So that's a way to kind of equal the playing field for everybody, because you're going to be picking from the stuff that's in that, and sometimes they'll do that for pre-releases or card releases or new sets or things like that. You may be wondering, what if I don't want to have a ton of cards? I have good news for you. You can play online. It is definitely different, and you can't, without a lot of finagling, play Commander online. But you can play on MTGA, Magic the Gathering Arena, and you can play 60-card, historic, modern. They also have something called Alchemy, which is the online only cards. It's really good for learning. There's a pretty extensive tutorial that will take you through all the colors, so you have to play each of the colors at some point, which was a little tedious, but I think that really helped me learn how to play, and I got lots quicker with being able to read cards and understand what they're doing and then be able to play them. Having the literacy to be able to just read and understand interactions between things feels so good, and it took me a couple years of playing to get there, because just learning all the cards and all of the types of abilities there are is a lot. But I would definitely recommend MTGA for learning how things interact, how to play, steps of the turn. I found it to be really helpful. If you do want to get into it with in-person physical cards, it is a really fun way to get into a community or play with your friends. So the way that they release things is in sets, and those sets come with their own lore, and they have their own mechanics, and those will drop every month or a couple months or so. So there's always something new coming out to learn. They're doing a lot of cross promotions right now, collaborations with different brands. Like there was a Lord of the Rings set recently. There's a Doctor Who set that's just come out, and then they have their own things that's separate to their world. You can buy set boosters, you can buy draft boosters, you can buy pre-constructed commander packs, you can buy starter decks of 60 cards, you can buy single cards. That's really fun. They will have often game stores that will buy and sell their own cards will have just like rows and rows and rows of singles, and the expensive ones are in a case, but the commons are all going to be out, so you can look and purchase from there. Now, what do we do with all these cards is your next question. I would get a binder. I have a deck box that has a couple commander decks and some tokens and other things in it. And then I have some like individual deck boxes, but if you just want a good place to store your massive collection, I would say get a card binder. Any sort of trading card binder will do. They're a pretty standard size. I like to organize mine by color and alphabetically, but that gets hard when you have to shuffle everything that you have put in, and it's just a lot. So just put them somewhere. I also have a spreadsheet of everything that I have and what color it is and what it does. And it's, can you tell I love spreadsheets? But what if you don't want to break the bank? I didn't want to break the bank. And I actually haven't broken the bank yet, but I'm thinking about it soon. So I would recommend you buy a starter deck of your preferred playstyle. So if you play online a little bit, or you borrow someone's deck, or you even just look on YouTube and you say, I really like how white plays. Like, I think that the counters and the life gain are really interesting. Let's try that. I would say go buy a starter deck. It could be anywhere from $25 to $50, but for 25, a pretty okay startup cost. And then play with that. You can also ask to borrow one at your local casual commander night. People usually are just really excited about getting their deck played, and they want to see other people enjoy it, and they're often very, very proud of that. So I would say it's really acceptable to ask politely if you can borrow someone's deck if you don't have one. You can also have a proxy deck. These are sometimes not allowed at stores with events because they are fake, but you can print out cards. You can go on websites like Moxfield or EDHREC, and you can build your own deck and then print them out. Again, like, this is a really okay way to play, especially if you're learning and just getting into it, and it's also a way to play with some really fun and really expensive cards that you might not be able to play with otherwise.